starting off tonight's news with a special report out of Washington, D.C. The Tuscaloosa Rotary Club took Vietnam, Korea, and World War II veterans on a free trip to the nation's capital. This video shows them returning from the trip last night. Now, while in Washington, they got to tour the various war memorials as well as some of the famous sites on the National Mall, Arlington Cemetery, and the Iwo Jima Memorial. WVOA 23's Chelsea Barton and photographer Keith Dobbins were also able to go along on this trip. Each vet is allowed to bring one person with them. And as Chelsea tells us in her special report, it wasn't very hard for one pair of Tuscaloosa County vets to decide who they wanted to share this honor flight experience with.
Traveling to our nation's capital is an incredible learning experience for anyone. But when you get to experience all of this with a family member, it makes it that much more special.
Brothers, they often have a lot in common.
We both kind of look like our dad.
And many differences.
I was in the United States Navy during the Vietnam War. Yes.
No, ma'am. I was in the Army Reserve.
Instead of each bringing a guest on the 2018 Rotary Honor Flight, the Stewart brothers, both veterans, decided who better to spend the day with than each other.
It's great. I love spending any time I can with my brother. He's part of the reason why I joined the Navy.
And what's the age difference between you two?
Well, I'm 6 or 7 years older than he is.
Almost.
I know I look younger, but you know.
Yeah.
Jimmy and Ricky spent much of the day remembering their father.
Our dad, proud to say, was a World War II veteran. Our dad taught us the values, you know, to love our country and respect one another and the American people. You know, I think he'd be proud of the men we've grown to be.
Like the Stewart brothers, the majority of honor flight participants were Vietnam veterans, making the stop at the Vietnam War Veterans Memorial extremely emotional.
It wasn't those kids. You know, a lot of them were drafted, and they didn't want to go in the first place, you know, but they were willing to give up their lives for this country. So it really chokes me up to know that, you know, over 58,000 of our young men gave their life to keep us freedom, because freedom is not free.
And long before they enlisted to defend their country, the Stewart brothers had each other's back, and they say no matter what, that still stands true today.
And I'll tell you something else he did. He probably won't admit this, but wouldn't nobody in the neighborhood pick on me, because my big brother Ricky would be after him.
Now, them times is gone now. You don't let nobody get ill at you, because I ain't defending you.
That's all right. I carry you now.
Yeah.
That is a special pair of gentlemen
They
right
were
there,
something
Chelsea.
else.
And you got to spend a lot of time with these guys too, and because you're right along with them.
Right, we were right there with them. Those gentlemen right there, we actually met them. They were some of the first guys we really got to visit with once we got off the plane and onto the bus. So I was like, oh, instantly, I want to do a story on them. You could just see they were so close, and they chose each other. Just like we said, you can pick one person to go with you if you're asked on the honor flight, and they didn't need a reason to bring anybody else along because they had each other, both being veterans. So you could tell there was just a really special bond there. I was glad I got to meet them.
Special relationship. And what was it like when the plane touches down and its wheels down back in Tuscaloosa? Because I know it was a long day in the capital, but then coming home, did everybody get their second wind?
You couldn't help but get your second wind. We all kind of were lagging around by that point because it was a long day. But when we stepped off that plane and saw the group of people, the hundreds of people waiting for us, and of course, mostly the veterans there at Tuscaloosa Regional Airport, it was electrifying. People had signs and flags. They were singing, you know, good old American songs. It was really incredible, something I'll always remember.
And real quickly, this was also a first for you.
A first for me. I've been to Washington, D.C. before, but it was the first time on the honor flight, so I was super grateful for that experience.
I bet there were a few tears.
If you know me, yes, there were.
Very emotional. Good to see those veterans getting the thanks that they deserve.
Absolutely. That was the best part.
Thanks, Chelsea.
Thank you.